Welcome to the Ganz PixelMaster video training series. Today we will be introducing you to the PixelMaster's new archive menu. Using a mouse or remote control, select Menu and then select Archive. If a login screen appears, that's okay. It simply means that you have password check enabled, as I do here. Enter your password. In my case, it's the factory default of 1, 2, 3, 4, and press OK. You should now see the new Archive tab found in the Archive menu of the PixelMaster. In the Archive menu, you will also find tabs for Reserve Data Management, Archive Playback, and Archive Devices Setup. Today we will be covering the new Archive tab, while the Reserve Data Management, Archive Playback, and Archive Devices Setup tabs will be covered in additional videos. Now that we know where the new Archive tab is, let's get familiar with its functions. Located toward the top left of the new Archive tab is the Calendar function, and it is here that we can navigate to a specific date and time. At the top of the calendar is listed the month and year. To navigate to a prior month and/or year, select the back arrow. To navigate back to the current month and year, select the forward arrow. If a particular day of the currently shown month is required, simply select that day. To find the oldest recorded data, select the first button at the bottom of the calendar. To return to or find the newest recorded data, select the last button at the bottom of the calendar. There are two ways of selecting or entering the time frame that will be archived. The first way to select or enter the time is to highlight the section of the timeline that corresponds to the required from time and to time of an incident. Using the mouse, left-click on the timeline and then drag either right or left in order to highlight a section of time. Once the area has been selected, click on the query icon in the bottom left of the menu. Archive info area will now list the total size of the new archive. If the time selected is incorrect or the file size needs to be trimmed due to transport media size limitations, click on Release to release the query data and then reselect as needed. After the query icon has been selected, you could select either Export to export the new archive or Reserve to reserve the new archive for later exporting. I'll cover the Export and Reserve function toward the end of the video. The second way to select or enter the time is to manually input the from time and to time of an incident. To manually enter the from or start time of an incident, select the clock icon to the right of the from entry. By selecting the up arrow of the year, month, day, hour, minute, and/or seconds, higher numbers can be selected. By selecting the down arrow of the year, month, day, hour, minute, and/or seconds, lower numbers can be selected. Select OK once the from time has been entered. To manually enter the to or end time of an incident, select the clock icon to the right of the to entry. By selecting the up arrow of the year, month, day, hour, minute, and/or seconds, higher numbers can be selected. By selecting the down arrow of the year, month, day, hour, minute, and/or seconds, lower numbers can be selected. Select OK once the to time has been entered. Once the from time and to time have been entered, click on the query icon in the bottom left of the menu. Archive info area will now list the total size of the new archive. If the time selected is incorrect or the file size needs to be trimmed due to transport media size limitations, click on Release to release the query data and then reselect as needed. After the query icon has been selected, you could select either Export to export the new archive or Reserve to reserve the new archive for later exporting. I'll cover the Export and Reserve function toward the end of the video. Between the to time function and the additional info options are 4 toggle selections. Typically, the toggle selections are checked or unchecked prior to the selection of the query icon. So in order to cover the toggles, I need to release the queried data first. The first toggle is Log. When selected or checked, a log containing the channels selected and the size of a channel's respective data will be included in the archive. The second toggle is Codec. When selected or checked, a Microsoft Windows installable codec will be included in the archive. The third toggle is Player. When selected or checked, a Microsoft Windows Media Player will be included in the archive. The player is specific to playing back video archived from the PixelMaster and includes a watermark check as part of the playback function. The fourth toggle is POS Log. When selected or checked, a log related to any POS transactions that took place during the selected time will be included in the archive. Now that we understand the various ways to navigate the calendar and manually enter a specific date and time for archiving, let's look at the timeline. The timeline is recognized by its long rectangular view to the right of the calendar. Located directly above the timeline is the data type legend, indicating if the data showing to the right of a video channel is pre-recorded, continuous, alarm, motion, or panic-based. Directly below the data type legend, across the top of the timeline, are the units of time seen as 0000 hour through 2300 hours. The timeline is in industry standard military time, but is easy enough to mentally translate into standard AM/PM time frame. Along the left side of the timeline is the list of available video channels, 1 through 4, 1 through 8, or 1 through 16, depending on the model of the PixelMaster in question. As mentioned before, to the right of the available video channels is the recorded data. The type of recorded data is indicated by referencing the matching color of the data type legend. Example being, light green would indicate pre-recording, dark green would indicate continuous recording, red would indicate alarm-based recording, light blue would indicate motion-based recording, and yellow would indicate panic-based recording. Below the timeline can be found a few navigational functions. Starting to the left is the refresh function, which essentially refreshes the on-screen timeline data, making the latest recording available for review. The magnifying glass with the minus sign and the magnifying glass with the plus sign are for zooming out and zooming in on the timeline. When zooming in, note that the timeline adjusts from 24 hours down to 12 hours, down to 6 hours, down to 3 hours, down to 2 hours, and lastly, down to 30-minute units of measure. To the right of the zoom in-out functions are the back and forward functions. By selecting the back function, the timeline moves to the right, allowing for moving backward on the timeline. By selecting the forward function, the timeline moves to the left, allowing for moving forward on the timeline. Below the timeline are the thumbnail representations of the available video channels. As a point in time is selected on the timeline, the thumbnails will update to correspond to that time selection. Below the thumbnails are the export, reserve, and close functions. The export function offers the option to export the currently selected archived data. Selecting the export will launch the export function with the following options. The device name offers selecting where to export to, such as a USB thumb drive, USB hard drive, or FTP location. The data format offers formatting of the exported archive in either AVI or RAW formats. The AVI format is the NVR's native format, requiring the codec is installed for the Windows playback, or the NVR's player application is used for playback. The RAW format is the unprocessed recorded video data, which can only be played back through the NVR's player application. Tag name is for entering the name or tag for reference. Double-clicking on the tag name field will launch the virtual keyboard where a tag name can be typed. Select OK after typing a tag name. Memo is for entering a reference for the nature of the archive video. Double-clicking on the memo field will launch the virtual keyboard where a memo can be typed. Select OK after typing a memo. Selecting Burn essentially will start the burning or copying process of the data to the selected device. Erase and Burn essentially will erase the device if the selected device is a USB thumb drive or USB hard drive, and then burn or copy the data to that device. Cancel will cancel the export function. Selecting Reserve will offer the option to reserve the currently selected archived data. Selecting Reserve will launch a reserve tag name requester. Double-clicking on the tag name field will launch the virtual keyboard where a tag name can be typed. Select OK after typing a tag name. Select OK to commit to the reserved tag name. Select OK to confirm the archive was successfully reserved. Now that the new archive has been exported and/or reserved, let's close out of the archive menu. Click on the close icon to exit out of the archive menu and return back to the live menu. Well, that completes our training video on the new archive tab for the Ganz PixelMaster NVR. Thank you for viewing this video and keep an eye on our website for more to come.